On television, President John F. Kennedy looks calm, invincible, and perfectly healthy. But the public was looking at a carefully crafted illusion. Behind closed doors, the man holding the nuclear launch codes was physically collapsing. He was sustained by a controversial, secret medical cocktail just to maintain the ability to sit upright in his chair. During the most dangerous crisis in modern history, the fate of humanity rested in the hands of a man barely holding his own body together. Here are 5 terrifying facts from JFK's hidden medical files about one of the sickest presidents in American history. Fact number 1. The illusion of Camelot. John F. Kennedy's medical records were guarded more closely than military intelligence. The press painted a picture of Camelot, a youthful athletic administration full of vigor. But in 2002, when historian Robert Dallek finally gained access to the president's closed medical archives, he shattered the myth of the flawless leader forever. Kennedy's famous bronze tan had absolutely nothing to do with sailing on yachts in Nantucket. It was a classic clinical symptom of Addison's disease, a severe autoimmune condition that slowly destroys the adrenal glands, secretly diagnosed by the London Clinic in 1947. Because his body could no longer naturally produce vital stress hormones, Kennedy required heavy, daily doses of corticosteroids just to survive. The side effects of these steroids actually caused his face to puff up, which the public mistakenly interpreted as a robust, healthy glow. Before reaching the Oval Office, the future president had hovered near death so many times that Catholic priests administered the last rites on 3 separate occasions. A tragic side effect of his decades-long steroid therapy was severe osteoporosis. His bones were literally crumbling from the inside out. Behind the scenes, the president was often entirely dependent on hidden crutches, unable to walk down a flight of stairs. His aides were meticulously trained to sweep those crutches away the second a camera appeared. Fact number 2. The rise of Dr. Feelgood. Managing this terrifying level of agonizing, chronic pain required extreme measures. Official White House doctors frequently injected Novocaine directly into his back muscles, sometimes up to 6 times in a single session. But the pain always returned. A Cold War president facing off against the Soviet Union could not show an ounce of weakness, leading to his reliance on a shadowy, unregulated medical routine. Enter Max Jacobson, a New York physician known in exclusive bohemian circles as Dr. Feelgood. The 1960s were a wild west for experimental medicine, and Jacobson's elite clientele included everyone from Truman Capote to Marilyn Monroe. According to declassified visitor logs, Jacobson regularly bypassed official White House protocols to see the president in private. Jacobson developed a highly unorthodox intravenous cocktail he called a tissue regenerator. It contained animal placenta, steroids, vitamins, and most critically, controversial stimulant injections that biographers and historians note included amphetamines. This mixture triggered an instant rush of energy, artificially wiping out physical fatigue. When the official White House physician discovered these unregulated shots, he repeatedly warned Kennedy about the extreme medical risks. But the president, desperate to keep functioning under the crushing weight of the presidency, reportedly brushed him off with a chilling response. "I don't care if it's horse piss, it works." Fact number 3. The diplomatic disaster in Vienna. The terrifying geopolitical danger of relying on these controversial treatments was put to the ultimate test in June 1961 during the Vienna summit. This meeting with Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev was meant to set the boundaries of the Cold War and the fate of a divided Berlin. Right before stepping into the fateful negotiations, Kennedy secretly saw Max Jacobson for a fresh injection of the stimulant cocktail. During the highly tense meetings, observers noted Kennedy's behavior was completely out of character. He appeared overexcited, talked incessantly, and struggled to build a tough, coherent line of argumentation. Khrushchev, a brutal and seasoned negotiator who had survived the purges of Stalin, analyzed the American president carefully. He walked away viewing Kennedy as weak, jittery, and deeply inexperienced. Historians now wonder whether Kennedy's extreme physical condition, masked only by these controversial injections, severely affected his performance. By projecting a lack of steady resolve, Kennedy inadvertently convinced the Soviet leadership that they could push the boundaries without facing military retaliation. Fact number 4. The true miracle of the missile crisis. That miscalculation helped shape the road to the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962. For 13 days, the world held its breath. When the crisis hit, Kennedy was not the invincible Cold War hero portrayed on the evening news. He was a deeply sick man trapped under unimaginable psychological pressure. To simply function during the grueling round-the-clock meetings of his executive committee, Kennedy depended on a carefully managed daily intake of steroids, antibiotics, antispasmodics, sleep medication, and heavy pain treatments. This raises a fascinating, almost uncomfortable question that historians still debate today. Did his illness actually save the world? Inside the cabinet rooms, the pressure was deafening. Air Force General Curtis LeMay and the Joint Chiefs of Staff pushed aggressively for immediate airstrikes on Cuba. A military strike would have instantly triggered a retaliatory nuclear holocaust. The healthy, aggressive generals wanted war, but Kennedy, a man intimately familiar with physical suffering and the fragility of life, chose restraint. The greatest miracle of October 1962 is that Kennedy saved humanity, not because he was physically strong, but because his mind remained deeply cautious and coldly analytical while his own biology was breaking down. Fact number 5. The rigid brace and the fatal seconds. Kennedy navigated the darkest days of the Cold War successfully, but tragically, his desperate medical condition played a direct mechanical role in his own violent end. Everyone knows the tragic footage of the Zapruder film, but autopsy data and later testimonies from trauma surgeons reveal a devastating physiological detail that changes how we view that day. On November 22, 1963, riding in the motorcade through Dallas, the president was wearing a specialized orthopedic corset. Because his spine was collapsing from osteoporosis, he wore a rigid canvas structure reinforced with heavy metal stays. It was tightly laced up his lower back and additionally bound with a thick, elastic figure-8 bandage wrapped tightly around his chest to keep him sitting perfectly straight for the crowds. When the first bullet pierced Kennedy's neck, it was a severe but potentially survivable wound. The natural human reflex when struck is to instinctively slump forward and drop to the floor to seek cover. However, the rigid back brace acted as a mechanical trap. Dr. Kenneth Salyer, one of the attending physicians at Parkland Hospital, later noted that the corset kept the president locked tightly in a vertical position. Physically unable to slump down or duck, Kennedy remained perfectly upright in the Lincoln Continental, making him a motionless target for the second, fatal shot to the head. The very device designed to project an image of strength ultimately sealed his fate. The myth of the flawless knight of Camelot was exactly what the public needed during the Cold War, but the unvarnished truth is far more terrifying. Tell me in the comments, do we have the right to know our leaders' medical secrets, or did Kennedy's deception save us all?